All right, welcome back. Ben Pakulski here, talking about the 4 resiliency model. The first one we're going to look at is your metabolic capability or your metabolic resiliency. What does that mean? My ability to produce energy. So if I'm going to go out and do a long walk, if I'm going to play a soccer game, if I'm going to play a hockey game, or if I'm going to be lifting weights, doing a sprint, riding a bicycle, or doing a 12-hour hike, I need my body, or I want my body to always have the resiliency, the metabolic capability to produce energy at every one of those different levels of intensity and duration. So we think about energy in terms of intensity, like I need a lot of energy, and we think about duration. Can I sustain it over long periods of time? And one of those is very likely going to diminish first. So as a coach, we need to learn how to train intensity. I need to be able to produce a huge amount of energy when I need it to lift, to sprint, to fight, versus a long duration. Like who knows when I might need to do a very long day, right? Even if it's just like sitting and working, sometimes that can be very, very exhausting to our brain and our body. So we talk about this metabolic resiliency in terms of, well, how well do I produce energy per unit time? So what are the things that ultimately influence our ability to produce energy? You've all heard the term mitochondria, which is massive. Our mitochondria will become dysfunctional over time because of an excess of oxidative stress or an excess of inflammation. Generally, it could also be vitamin deficiencies from a poor diet. But in general, those are the things that we want to support. So am I supporting enough antioxidants? Am I supporting the eradication or elimination of inflammation? And am I eating a diet that's wide enough in vitamins and antioxidants to allow my mitochondria to work well? And am I actually training my mitochondria to become better at producing energy? You think of these little energy-producing organelles as little engines. If I'm not constantly revving the engine and teaching it, it gets gunky, just like any gasoline engine would. It gets gunky. So we have to learn to train those things effectively. Now, how we do that is different for every person, but in general, there's a few things we want to consider. We got to make sure we're sleeping well. We got to make sure we're getting enough natural sunlight, which is enormous. We got to make sure we're moving really well. We got to make sure our VO2 max is adequate or effective. And all that really is like, well, at what rate of intensity can I continue to produce energy exclusively in the aerobic energy system? Now, I know that's complicated stuff, but all that really means is, how hard can you work and still only primarily use fat as energy? That's really what we're trying to solve here as far as the energy equation for men. So if you're not sleeping well, if your gut health is dysfunctional, you're going to drive up inflammation. If your VO2 max isn't considered and you're not having a wide array of micronutrients, vitamins, minerals, and cofactors, you're not going to be able to have this abundance of energy. You're always going to be reaching for caffeine and stimulants to ultimately push you over the edge. And unfortunately, what happens with that is we're stealing energy from our future selves. So we're actually causing the cells to age faster. We're actually causing more adrenaline, which ultimately ages our body faster as well. So I'm not against caffeine, I'm not against stimulants, but when it becomes a situation where I need it, that's a problem. I want caffeine, I enjoy caffeine, I love coffee as much as anybody else, but I don't want to need this caffeine. So remember, when we're thinking about optimizing for long-term function, we must optimize our pillar of metabolic resiliency. See you in the next video, talking about physical resiliency.